Well, there have been extraordinary scenes in Berlin tonight as thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. Democratic presidential hopeful laid out his vision for America's place in the new world order, saying he was speaking as a proud citizen of the world, of the world, of the world.
It is a big idea. It is a big idea. A new world order.
Hello friends, I am the Anti-Terrorist. Thank you for all of your emails and your messages of support, and for staying part of the conversation. Now, I like to think I'm not anti-government. After all, some people obviously need governing, as they're clearly not able to handle the responsibility that comes with being free. I used to be a libertarian, and if you're a logical libertarian, you become an anarchist. Now, anarchists suffer from very bad press. They're not people who wear little black capes and carry little round bombs with lit fuses.
What do we want?
Chaos!
When do we want it?
Now!
I love the smell of chaos in the morning. When do we want it? I love a bit of chaos. When do we want it? What do we want? Chaos, everyone want it.
Now, that daft idea has nothing to do with anarchism whatsoever. Just as monarchists believe in one ruler, a king, and Democrats believe in the rule of the majority, an anarchist simply believes in no rule. Well, that's not to say he doesn't believe in order. They do, very much so. And they also believe in society to the same degree. And when we're discussing the heart of the issues that affect us all, the heart we're talking about is government. Specifically the institution of government itself. If we're going to analyze anything, we have to look at its essence. So what is the essence of government? And when I ask simple questions like that, most people say,
well, what the government is doing is good here. What they're doing is bad over there. Maybe we need to tweak it here and there, or have different, better people in government.
And that sort of thing. They never really look at the essence of it. And Mao Zedong was one of the world's leading experts on the subject, and he said something along the lines of, government grows out of the barrel of a gun. Now, government is pure force, either revealed or concealed. You have to clarify for yourself and fully embrace the concept of force and coercion in order to approach the essential element of government. There are only two ways people can relate or contract with each other, voluntarily or coercively. There are no other possibilities. Now, once you're under contract, there's absolutely no voluntarism about government. In my opinion, the institution itself, as it stands, is intrinsically and essentially corrupt, destructive, and malevolent. Now, you might ask yourself, how would the world work without government? And I would say that it isn't government that holds societies together at all. Government's not the same thing as society. It's a dead hand on society. It doesn't protect the best interests of society. It's completely counter to the best interests of society. It's not the policeman who holds society together. What holds society together is a combination of peer pressure, social dishonor, and moral approbation, not coercion, force, and the state. So what useful purpose does government serve? And one of the most frequent answers I hear is,
well, how about the army, to defend us against the Russians? And what about the police and the courts?
And I point out to them that if you accept the proposition that government is pure force, just organized coercion, and you accept the fact that coercion and force are not good things, then maybe coercion and force should be limited to defending you against the initiation of force and fraud. Pretty logical, really, don't you think? It implies an army to protect you from the forces outside of the arbitrary boundaries that the government has set up for itself, a police force to protect you from criminals within the borders, and a court system to arbitrate disputes within the boundaries without resorting to force. Now, having said that, I would suggest that when it comes to the conduct of an intelligent society, that these three areas are far too important to be left to the government and the kind of people that get into it. The only three areas you could use to make an argument for government are the very three areas that are too important to be left to government. It's paradoxical. As far as the police are concerned, I'd far prefer to have someone like Eddie Shoestring or Magnum P.I. to go after someone who committed a common law crime against me. And very few of the crimes prosecuted today are common law crimes, as you well know. A Magnum would be a person who has an interest in the actual catching of the criminal. And most police, notwithstanding the good guys on the shield or the bill, down tools at 5 o'clock. They're just government employees, that's all. And a lot of you are probably thinking,
Well, how can we change this system and resolve these problems? Wait a minute. The political arena is an area of criminality and corruption, but maybe we should use it to our advantage. Maybe we should put our guys up there to make a difference and vote for them.
Despite the nagging sensation that it's such a laughable waste of time, effort, and energy, a significant portion of the awakened still tend towards getting involved in the political process, by joining a party or a movement or something along those lines. I guess it's an entertaining diversion for those who have an interest in it and don't have anything better to do with their time. But I have a problem with politics and voting in general. I haven't voted for years, and I plan on never voting again. The main reason being that it endorses the political system, a system of organized coercion. I don't believe in doing unethical things. I don't believe in the institutionalization of coercion and force. And when you vote, you're participating in that process. Now, as they say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And that's what voting is. It's part of the problem. My second reason for not voting is all I really need to stop doing it. It compromises my privacy. Voting just gets you into another government database. And the third reason I don't vote is that it encourages them. Yes, I know what you're thinking.
Now wait a minute. We have to vote against the real bad guys. I suppose we gotta vote for the lesser of two evils.
Well, the lesser of two evils is still evil, and the parasite doesn't think you're voting against his opponent. He thinks you're actually voting for him. So it's a big mistake as far as I'm concerned. And the last reason is a doozy, and it really gets people's hackles up because I suspect that deep down they know it's true. Your vote doesn't count. The political decision as to who's going to captain this ship was made by the ship owners long before you ticked the box on that white slip of paper. You're just one of millions of muppets out there going through the charade. A lot of people who haven't thought it through think that government is a necessary institution. They tend to take the view that Jean Rousseau took on it, which was that government is an institution put together by people who got together in an agreeable way and figured out that it would make their lives better and easier. That it's a rational institution, ideally run by rational people with rational results. I would assert that this is a completely ridiculous fantasy, created out of whole cloth and by an idiot. And more likely, the real origin of government went like this. You might have had a group of people somewhere that were just making their way in the world, farming or herding, or whatever people did in prehistory. And you might have had a roving bunch of criminals, like the primeval equivalent of the Hells Angels. And what they would do is ride through, steal what they could, and ride on, which was how they would survive. Now, of course, the problem was that if the locals defended themselves, the roving thugs would sustain casualties, which were essentially transaction costs to getting what they wanted. So what they might do after a while is come to the peaceful townspeople and say, "Now look, we're not the only band around here that does this type of thing for a living. What we'll do is this. We won't come round and burn your shacks and your fields and whatnot anymore, and we'll protect you from the other criminals who are doing this. And all we want in return is 10%. How's that sound?" And the townspeople might look at their transaction costs and say,
Well, this could make some sense. We give 10% to these chaps and keep more of what we create. All right, you got yourself a deal.
Well, that's how government got started. It was an economic proposition. All early governments of that nature were royalist governments, or oligarchies. And it's interesting that the ruling classes of most countries in pre-capitalist times all have martial or military traditions that stem from that type of control. Today I'm amazed and disgusted by the high esteem people around the world still have for the remnants of royalty. like the British royal family and so on. They don't recognize that these people are just the descendants of silk-clad gangsters. The fact they still respect them and grant them their titles and all that is just embarrassing, frankly. Having said that, the royal wedding is an especially joyful occasion in my house because we actually need new tea towels. But if you're one of the many who'll be out there bowing and scraping, consider the possibility that you may have been brainwashed into giving up your own sovereignty.
Well, here we go again. Another bloody wedding to shell out for, Philly. I do wish the children wouldn't get so attached to the peasants. It's such a waste of royal baby gravy.
I know, dear, but thank God for small mercies. At least she's not one of those slanty-eyed tiddlywinks or a bloody ginger.
Oh, Philly, you really are such a racist old wog. But I like it. Now don't forget, Harry is a ginger. You really shouldn't attack your own, you know.
Did we ever find out why that milkman stopped making deliveries after Harry was born?
Yes. Well, anyway, we need to plaster on a fake smile and plough through this poop one more time. And let's hope we can keep a leash on this one.
You know, dear, Kate has said that she's devastated she never got to meet Diana.
Really? Well, all in good time.
Sorry to interrupt, Your Majesty, but one of the maids is complaining about Harry. It appears he locked her in his room again and forced her to watch him punching the clown.
Bugger. Well, it's your turn to take care of the little deviant this time, Philly.
Sorry.
Who's queen?
Bloody.
Me.
Anyone who believes the current royal family just willingly gave up their power to the people needs to do a little research and reevaluate their opinion. Brainalyze it a bit. Use a little reason, logic, and common sense. Your current monarchs are just diluted, weaker versions of the gangsters that bullied and coerced your ancestors eons ago. And they realized they could no longer command the same fear and respect and lead from the front. So instead they rely on coercion, subterfuge, and deception to keep the growing unwashed masses in line and feeding their opulent lifestyles. I believe the system is on a fast track to a violent implosion, and what we create after that fact is anyone's guess, but I think it can only be a good thing. And Nietzsche said a lot of things right, but one thing in particular really struck a chord with me. That which is about to fall deserves to be pushed. We really ought to be learning the system, learning about money and law, and using that knowledge to undermine the corrupt bureaucracy, the fraudulent coercive contracts, and the power-crazed police and judges, until what we're left with is the bare bones of something we can use for our betterment. We owe it to ourselves to fight the injustice, the ignorance, and the malpractice at every turn. It does take courage, diligence, and tenacity, though. Freedom isn't free. If you haven't already done so, begin your education. Explore the possibilities. Study up and empower yourselves. Thanks for listening.
We tried to change it, tried to affect it, but now